Hold on. Gotta time this perfectly. Yo, 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 what is up, guys? This is Jacobshadowminer here, live at you tonight again with episode 4. That's right, we are stuck on that number 4 of the VCV podcast. Let me tell you. um, Today was a day. It really was. Today was a day, and it's one of those days. It's the take your headphones off kind of stream. Just don't even pay attention to anything that's going on right now. Let me tell you guys. All right, so let me tell you what we're talking about. So, first of all, it'll just be me soloing the podcast tonight. We were gonna have on Alex. His power went out. We were going to have on Rajal for the special guest tonight, but she couldn't make it. Her kid had kid things going on, so fortunately we couldn't have her, and Jame had some stuff to deal with too, so we couldn't get those shining faces on tonight. But we've kind of grown a little bit of a reputation on this this podcast. And we have a new motto now, and that motto is: if it's not jank, it's not a VCB podcast episode. So, trust, if anything goes wrong, we're doing good. If anything goes bad, maybe you should be a little bit scared. But anyways, so let me run you through the day. I was actually having the time of my life. I really was. I was having a great time today. I was having a great time making videos. I'd made 3 shorts. I made 3 shorts today. And I was like, man, just having the time of my life. Then, comes the tricky part. So, usually on a Thursday, I'm supposed to have a YouTube video out. So, again, that YouTube video would be the VCV. However, I have a very strict schedule I've designed for myself. So, YouTube is supposed to be Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So, streaming, of course, is Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturday, and then Sunday optional. And it's designed that way so I can have time to, film, and then the next day edit and release. So it's a very efficient system. If that makes sense. But man, if only I stuck to my schedule this week, I would not have had to have done everything in a day today. So the reason a lot of you guys might be asking, why, Jacob? Why would you do that? Well, let me tell you. The reason I'm doing this all today is so I can get back on track. So that way tomorrow everything just runs smoothly and I should theoretically be back on track with the schedule. I just had to take a bit of an ass kicking today. I'm not gonna lie. But so yeah, basically the day started out with like 3 great short videos. And then the YouTube video hit, and that's where it all started going like, ugh. By the way, you guys better go watch this video because I had to get my ass kicked over this video. It insanity. But so after the video, actually while I'm editing it, I didn't really have to really record the video today. I just more or less had to like edit it. It took about 2 hours, and that's on like bare minimum editing. Like the video I just put out there is like, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's always something you can improve in a video, but I wouldn't call that my best work. But I mean, for the sake of getting the video out there and for what it is, I mean, there you go. So as I'm editing this video, I'm getting blown up. One of my friends, I made her a profile picture, Rajal. Everybody's asking about it. Everybody's so loves the profile picture, and everybody wants their own. I have no problem. I have no problem making things for people. I really don't. But when it comes to graphics, I don't do it. I do not do graphic design like that. I do it for myself, maybe some close people, like the artsy profile pictures, stuff like that. So I really don't like do graphics all like that. Now I do like contract work, like simple stuff like logos and like profile banners even. Um Maybe even like the occasional website design and all that kind of stuff, but nothing like crazy. So I always but that's contract work. This is nothing. It's hard to explain. Um, it's easy work. It's work out. We agree upon a price. I'm always usually fair, so I'm like, okay, so what would you think the value of my work is? And then they think about it. Usually, business owners are very honorable. I would hope. So they would. I'm the type of guy. I'm like, graphic design's not really my thing. I do for work. So like, name your price and I'll do it. Like pay what you can kind of pay type thing. I'll give you my best work no matter what. So that's a lot different than profile pictures and uh, content creating packages and drawing and it. I can tell you guys about that part at the end of the stream because I'm actually going to have a whole segment about that. Since at this point, I mean, I didn't really. Usually, every stream or every podcast, we design a schedule. Well, not really a schedule, but a script, and it's not even really a script. It's more like just talking points. So I'm like, what? It's just me. I know what I'm going to be talking about. So, anyways, today in this episode, excuse me, we are going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 being delayed, and we're going to be talking about movie theater etiquette. Two things I think a lot of people need to hear about. Not, I'm kind of on the fence a little bit, when it comes to like that sort of thing. But anyways, let's talk about Grand Theft Auto 6. Enough about my day, enough about my life. So, Grand Theft Auto 6, we all know, has been delayed. Um, Honestly, like I said in a stream like 3 days ago, I woke up, checked my phone. I always check X. I always check Twitter in the morning, get my news. Seen it, and I just rolled over and went back to bed because honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit disappointed, but then I was like, I don't care, honestly, because it's like I have just played so much GTA 5. Me and my friends, we used to play till like 7 o'clock in the morning. Sun's rising up in the window. Holy shit, I gotta get to school type shit. And I am just not all that excited personally about GTA 6 now because it's been just delayed so much. So it's like, honestly, it just gives me more time to GTA 5 because I mean that game honestly, a lot of us are going to think about it. A lot of even probably honestly a lot of us are still going to play it. Even though you got the memes out there, it's like, oh well, we're going to take our last lap. Games like that you just can't get rid of. Games like that you just don't let go. Games like that, it's been around for 10 years. You're still going to play it. We still go back and play the Mario 64 games. We still go back and play like Galaxy, stuff like that. So just because the new game's coming out doesn't mean we're going to drop GTA 5. And maybe, this delay is honestly a little bit of a gift in disguise, honestly. Giving us more time with GTA 5. And yeah, I can't complain about that. But when it comes to like people like being disappointed, like I get it. I don't think that many people are disappointed as they were like in some of the earlier um, delays. But I mean, there's still people. I mean, honestly, there's still people. I mean, there's gonna be somebody disappointed. But like, and there's theories out there. It's like, oh well, maybe Rockstar's pulling like a wall, like a wool over us. It's like maybe, but I'll see it when I see it. But basically, I see it like this. I always tell people this. You kind of have to see it. Rockstar being the company they are, you kind of have to see it from the developer's perspective. Um, Now, as far as I understand, it's not going to be coming out on PC. I don't think, because you like historically, like GTA 5 didn't come out on PC for like 2 years. So realistically, there shouldn't really be any challenges, but behind the scenes, there's still challenges because they still might be, even though it might not be on launch day, they still might be gearing up for PC. So right now, the situation we're in, if you've seen the trailer, you see all these, like the more and more you look into it, like I've watched it 10 times at this point, probably maybe even 11. And this is the more you look into it, the more details, the more finer things you see, it starts to make you question, like, wow, okay, maybe I kind of understand why they've had to delay this thing time and time and time again. Because some of those animations, man, I tell you, it's not easy. Like especially at that level, at that like grade A level, you've got a team of freaking 20 guys at that point, like maybe even 30, to get those finer details worked out. And it's not even just that. There's other things that comes in development, and this is going to be the more technical side for a lot of you techie guys out there. But the technical side is you have to think of it like this. Consoles, they're easy, but yet not easy to develop for. I mean, at the end of the day, consoles are just a mainstream thing. So you've got PS5, theoretically PS4, and then the Nintendo Switch too, because we all know it's definitely not dropping on no Nintendo Switch. But those are consoles, even though they're different platforms, different specs, um, technically still to a degree a mainstream thing to develop for. So it's like, yeah, I got these four, no, 30 different platforms. Four technically, if they do PS4, what I've heard from the rumors. That's four. I'll just call it four. That's four platforms they got to develop for. Pretty simple because each one has like a defined configure. Every console's the same. Not like in general, like of course, there's Sony, there's Nintendo, there's Microsoft, but what I mean by the same, every Xbox is the same. Well, no, now that I think about it, no, I'm kind of lying. There are different models of Xboxes, but each of those individual models are the same. So all the Series X's are the same. All the Series S's are the same. All the PS5s are the same. So I mean, like I said, there's a little bit of like diversity there, to where it's like a little bit of a headache, but you've got thousands of each of those models you're designing for. You don't have to really worry too much about like each part being different. Now let's get into the whole PC world. And my favorite word, optimization. Optimization is easy to achieve on consoles because in a lot of ways they're, well, not in a lot of ways, but they're basically similar, basically. But in the PC market, you've got so many different things to accommodate for. You have processor type, you have graphics card type, you have RAM type, you have motherboard type. What makes it tricky to develop for PCs is the fact that there are so many diversities when it comes to PC setups. No PC setup is the same. No operating system is the same. Even though technically, yes, Windows, usually the mainstream thing, and older Windows too, if people still stick around to those. Usually the people do that. They're sticking around for like retro type game type stuff. But when it comes to Linux, I don't even think. I think honestly, developers just give up on Linux unless it's like the Steam Deck, where Steam Deck has like an optimization. They have that hot fix that changes a lot of Windows-based games into Linux games. So Steam Deck is really kind of making a little bridge there for developers, but like just like Linux in general, yeah. So I'll say this: I think it's kind of fair, once you take into consideration um, how many different configurations, how many different things, and even like how many different individual graphics cards, because every graphics card is either overclocked or not. Yeah, like I said, you can go on and on and on about how many different PC builds there are, but or even even controller type. Like not everybody uses a keyboard and mouse. I mean, it's the mainstream option, but some people have like different controllers. Now you got to put that in the mix. So it's coming. I would say I'm a very fair person. When it comes to anything, I like to see it from one person's perspective, but then again, I like to see the other perspective. Coming from the developer perspective, I understand it. I myself am not a developer by all means, but I've heard perspectives from developers. I've heard I've been on Reddit threads. Yeah, I've seen like the I've seen the possibilities from that side, but also from the gamer side, it's kind of fair too. It's like, why delay it? Because I mean, if you think about it too, from the gamer perspective, like what we all think about it here, it's like, why does it take that long though? Because it's been like, gosh, what do you say? Like years, too many years actually, in my opinion. But it's been years. um, it's been so many years that we've had to wait for this game. What stopped it? I mean, let's go back to the developer side for a little bit. There are some things, a lot of companies are secretive. Nintendo's notorious for that. Rockstar, especially. Rockstar don't know how they get I don't know how they not get their shit leaked. Um, can't really speak 'cause I'm really tired right now, but I really don't understand how their stuff does not get leaked because Nintendo had their whole freaking Nintendo Switch 2 leaked. So, and that's the company who's been notorious for not getting their stuff leaked. But I don't know. Rockstar must have some serious. They might have Vanguard. Who knows? Or I don't know what you call the guard, the private military in GT. I can't really think right now. But essentially, something could have went wrong. Maybe I mean when it comes to developing or when it comes to an art in general, there's always going to be a vision that you set for that thing that you're working on, that project, that film, that movie, that film movie, same thing. Being stupid. Song, painting, whatever it be. Sometimes, like Scott Cawthon when it came to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, sometimes you're going to write the whole thing out. Sometimes you're going to develop the whole thing out, and then you're going to look at it and be like, what in the fuck was I on? And then you're going to take that and you're going to rip it up, you're going to throw it away. I've been there a million times. Million. I can't tell you how many videos I just watched completely, or not even just videos. Stuff like Minecraft builds or anything really that I had looked at, and it's like, okay, we gotta start all over because it's like if I gotta change this one thing, then I gotta change it. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna blow it all up. It's like I'm gonna rip it up. I'm gonna throw it in a trash can. I'm gonna start all over because when it comes to that, because if you think about it, developing is an art. Art is not a term; it's an umbrella term. anything can be art if you really think about it on a deeper level. So basically, something could have went wrong there. You never know. Maybe they they thought about bringing like the three protagonists back from the last game, but then they thought, okay, well that wouldn't really work out, so maybe we should do a different story. And then maybe they're like, okay, let's redo that. But maybe not even just the story, maybe the visuals. Maybe they're like, okay, this doesn't really recreate that Miami vibe that we're trying to recreate here. Because also you have to take into consideration Rockstar does a phenomenal job when it comes to recreating a city. All the memes about how you can like get around LA without a map can confirm that, really. It really can. But essentially, what they do is they go around these cities very detailed, very similar to like what NFL and Madden does. They will picture the whole area, scope it out, probably even cheat a little bit and use Google Maps and all that. But they'll go to like specific locations if they really want detail and like get specific captures and all that kind of stuff, and then they'll recreate that as a map. Um, and on top of that, they film CGI basically their characters into like cutscenes and all that good stuff, and it's a process. Just sit here and think about it gives me a headache, but I'd see their perspective. There's so many different things that could go wrong at any one of those levels. But then let's step back into the gamer perspective a little bit. Gamer perspective. You have so much time. You have so much time to technically work out those problems, those issues. Why? How many issues? It really makes you wonder. How many issues did you have? Because if you think about it, in that time frame, they probably could have had a few hiccups, enough time really to like throw away a few stories and recreate some things that really didn't work out in their favor. But how many problems did you have? That's the thing. We'll never know. That's where you come back to the developer perspective. We will never know what caused us to delay. And honestly, I think because it's been delayed so much, I honestly don't even think we care. Because it's like, again, it gives us more time with GTA 5, and we just get to have fun. We still have the games we have now. It's not like those games go away because Rockstar is like, oh, we dropped the ball and now we're gonna delay it. Now that's not saying it can't come out later, but I mean, you just never know. You never really know. I'm looking at my time. I feel like I've been talking way a lot longer. It's only been 29 minutes. Jeez. It's been that kind of day, man. It's been that kind of day. So because I really can't. I don't know. There's nothing you really talk about GTA 6 all that much. It got delayed. Nobody cares, and I don't know. So let's talk about that Minecraft movie, because this was supposed to have been released last week. So this got rolled into this episode. So this was supposed to be the jam-packed episode, but it wound up turning into the Shadowminer episode. And the third repeat of episode 4, because I will go into that later in the podcast. Minecraft movie. We've all seen it. It's been out for a little bit. We know the shit that went down. Honestly, I'm gonna go back into that. I'm gonna go back into that good cop, bad cop mentality, because how I approach life, that's how I approach everything. So, okay, let's see it from this perspective. You got to think about. We'll start with a movie. We'll start with the movie theater employees and the businesses. Yeah. Maybe it's not. Okay, so maybe it's not so cool to, because all the story. I mean, we all know stories. You know, you had people setting fire, literal fire to movie theaters, bringing live chickens, throwing popcorn everywhere, throwing soda. Maybe not, because that's the extreme stuff. You know, that's like the, why, why would you want to make somebody's job harder? I mean, you've got to put yourself in somebody's shoes there at that point. Like, if you were getting paid $7 an hour, to work and all that stuff, would you want to walk into popcorn everywhere, soda everywhere? Even worse, the worser case scenario, like getting body slammed and like your life at risk of being killed actually by arson. Like, would you put yourself in those shoes? And now, like, think about it. Like, hear me out. Because the argument could be made like, oh, well, I bought the ticket. I've seen a lot of people say this. Well, you have to think like this. These rules belong to a private business at the end of the day. And these rules might sound, you know, over the edge, over the top, a little bit, but they're basic rules and there's reasons. So, no filming, obviously, no talking, no phone ringer because nobody wants to hear your phone going on. Nobody wants to hear Katy Perry's ringtone and all that. So those rules exist for a very, very good reason. I mean, every rule has a reason. If we didn't have rules, society would collapse at some point. Um, those rules exist because, yes, let's come back to the perspective of the Minecrafters, the gamers. Okay, so we're back to the gamer perspective. Yeah, it's really fun. The Minecraft movie is a meme. Honestly, I had people cheer in my theater. It wasn't dead silent. I didn't care. Like, I even got up and was like, yeah, fuck yeah, at some points. It was exciting. It felt amazing to, like Marvel movies. It feels amazing to get involved with a crowd, because I will admit, one of the problems that movie theaters face, one of the biggest problems, is if they want to get people to come to the theaters, because the phrase goes out there, but theaters are dying. Theaters are dying. If they want to get people to get off the couches, get out of streaming for a little bit at least, theaters need to up their experience. They need to not just make it speakers and a screen. They need to make it an experience. They need to make it like you're walking into a theme park. The reason so many of these 4DX, 5DX, 6DX, whatever movie experiences are so popular, it's because you're not just sitting there like you're at home with your surround system or whatever you got. It's like you're sitting there and you're getting splashed in the face with rain, or you're smelling smells. Even the finer details, like the sound experience. Yeah, you might have a surround system at home, but do you have a vibrating seats that matches up to those surround systems? I mean, you could, but that's going to be really expensive. So, to that, I'll say, like being able to cheer along in a movie just adds on to it adds on to that experience. But then again, let's take it back to the movie theater side. Not and not even just the safety part of it. Like not even just making employees' lives harder, making not even just that. You got to think of it like this. Like what if and back to the gamer's perspective again. I know what I'm getting ready to say is going to sound literally asshole like, and some people can be assholes. But back to the theater experience. Those assholes, everybody pays for their ticket. Maybe you might have a family that comes in, and just wants to sit down and relax. They might have got off work. Not everybody has an asshole, They got off work, they're tired, and they just want some peace and quiet, And if you think of it like that, it's like they paid for their ticket. It's like they kind of expect those rules that they paid for to be upheld. So, they have the right to go to managers, even though it sucks, to pay, or not pay, I'm not pay, what am I saying? I'm tired. They have the right to go to the manager, and then the manager has the right to do what they do. But then again, it's like going back to the gamer perspective. I think there's an easy solution to this. In theaters, I think, if you really want to start working on that experience game, like making theaters an experience, maybe, and I kind of gave you guys the little tip there. If you guys were paying, like, nobody in the movie executive thing is probably watching this ever, but like if there are at some point, maybe do like what London's doing. Make like a specific experience for people to go and cheer, clap, maybe not get too excessive, but just have a good time. And then the regular showings are, where you can go just wind down and relax, that kind of stuff. So that way, you keep both people happy. And what's even greater is those cheering, clapping, having a great time experiences could be things like 4D experiences, 5D, experiences that are immersive, where an environment like cheering and clapping would go amazing. And then you'd have your regular showing, you walk in and, you have your basic sound experience, have your vibrating seats. And you can still maintain that balance. Everything about, I always say this, everything in life is about a balance. You make one person happy and you make another person happy, you're doing something right. Because that is not easy. um, so Minecraft's movie, I think it challenged the norm. And I think it, at the end of the day, it opened a lot of people's eyes to maybe even executives a little bit. Maybe we do need to up our experience. Maybe we do need to up the game a little bit. Maybe like again, bring in freaking stadium seats. Who knows? Bring that aspect where it's like, okay, we're trying to get people in, make an experience for them. Do tornado machines, do all crazy stuff. But then you could still stay to your roots and then do the basic 3D showings, basic theater experiences. So that way, at least I see that as the middle ground. Like if I was CEO and I had the resources to do such, that's what I would do. I would put like I said, I would go all out when if it came to like those like really like theme park immersive experiences. I would go out. I'd go crazy all out. I'd put like Gobi LED strips. It'd be really expensive because those Gobi LED strips are kind of expensive at that size. But I would put LED Gobi strips. I would have it looking like a disco in there. I'd be like putting tornado machine, all this crazy stuff. So that way people can go there and just have a blast, have a great time. And then like for the people, people getting off work, just got off the run, they just want to sit down, not really get all too excited, just sit there and relax. They can have that option too. So when you give people options, and not even just movies, when you give people options, it opens things up a little bit. It makes things more fair. Now, then again, like when it comes to consumer choice, you don't want too many options because then that brings you to like option burnout, which I've experienced in many ways. But it's something I think a lot of people's eyes were opened up to. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been a part of that Marvel releases. I've been the guy that said, yeah, fuck yeah, it's like I've been there. Not to that extent with a Minecraft movie where you got like chickens and freaking flint and steel like IRL and shit. But I've been to those experiences where it's like, the whole movie theaters cheering and clapping, and that goes with like there's like an unspoken rule which I kind of personally don't agree with, and that is if everybody agrees with it, then those rules are void. Well, I mean, it's not a bad no, no, it's not a bad thing. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's kind of funny that movie theaters don't express that. Like it's bad on the movie theater side because it's like they should have another rule to those three rules. And that is, well, of course, the basics, no filming, no, well, two of the rules can be void. No filming, no, talking, and no ringers. But I think there should be a fourth rule too, technically. If a lot of this is the all I always think of alternatives. Um, if movie theaters really don't want to go that route, like having if it's too expensive, then again, we live in a world of greed, corporate greed. Um, if they don't want to make a separate theater for people to just have a good time and all that, they should at least add a fourth rule where it's like if everybody in the theater is okay with it, have a great time. Maybe don't burn a theater down, but just have a good time. Um, because that I mean, it's kind of how it goes now. It's like Marvel releases come out. Everybody's cheering, clapping, going along. Saying the lines, all that good stuff, the memes, all that good stuff. If everybody agrees with it, oh, it's fine. Like it's enjoyable. It makes the movie that much more enjoyable, especially like a movie like a Minecraft movie, because I mean, it really didn't have a plot. It really didn't have a story. But then again, if you think about it, Minecraft movie was done like that by design. Because if, a lot of us growing up, we grew up off of the funny animations, the funny, the exploding TNTs, the Captain Sparkle. That's what I think. Like on a side note, what the Minecraft movie team was trying to develop. But I don't know. I really don't think there's really much to talk about it. It happened. um, in a lot of ways, we can grow as like people, I guess you can say. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't think there's really anything much to add on to that. Alex. So let me tell you about Alex. I didn't, like I was saying earlier, right now is usually we're at the point where we do our little sports segment corner that we do not have a name for it yet. Because I guess that's just the whole vibe of this podcast. Like I said, if something's not janked about it, we're not doing it right. So I just learned to live that. I just learned to accept it because it honestly makes it fun. It like yeah, we have a script, yeah, we have talking points, but it makes it fun that I don't have an expectation to be like, okay, this has to be Johnny on the spot every time. This has to be perfect every time. It gives me the opportunity to step back from my perfectionism, I guess you can say, which is a good thing. um, it gives me an opportunity to step back from all the perfectionist videos and sometimes perfectionist stream schedule, all that world for a little bit, and just sit back, relax, have fun. Because, at the end of the day, that's what this podcast is technically supposed to be about. Now, I shouldn't really say now that I think about it because it should be, because it's called Voice Chat Vibes. It's supposed to be just like a whole bunch of random dudes, bunch of random friends, all of us. And what I mean by random, like me being solo tonight, this shouldn't be like looked down upon by me or anyone because it's like, think of it like this, Linus Tech Tip has Linus Tech Tip. Linus Tech Tip has a see having fun, just like that. Linus Tech Tip has a very similar concept, and that is a show he calls Tech Links. So by design, it's not supposed to have a specific host. It's not supposed to have a specific schedule, even sometimes. It's not even supposed to have a specific guideline. The whole point is it's supposed to be random, funny, goofy, and things like the funniest things, craziest things happen out of just things that just pop out of nowhere. And, Linus Tech Tips, when he created TechLinked, came out of the shit show that was NCIX. you know, he was, it was the end. They were closing down. They were probably swapping out hosts, like, trying to get everything packed up and all that, like you said. And it was just like, it's like that feeling, it's like the end of, I think it's like what he said. Um, it's that feeling, it's the end of school. Everybody's burned out. All the teachers are packing their stuff up. It's like, okay, do whatever, no more homework. It's like that feeling of like closure, but not really, because not these shows aren't coming. These shows I'm talking about aren't coming to an end. But it's that feeling of like, holy crap, I could just do some backflips right now. Freaking, do cartwheels, that type stuff. And just have fun, just relax, And Tech Links was born from that. Now, Voice Chat Vibes is born from something very similar, just a bunch of people hanging out at like 3 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, just talking about stuff that's going on. Yeah, we might have talking points, but those aren't like, what's structured, yes, but no, because like there's not a script. They're talking point. This is to remind us that we're not like rambling too much, but it's like they're the talking points are there, but the conversation is just us hanging out. Honestly, just like you're hanging out in a voice chat. Like any voice chat, Discord chat, Xbox party chat. Even though we don't really get that extreme, brand safety. But it's just to have fun. And Alex not being here, one of our special guests not being here, me just hosting it solo really is not a bad thing, in my opinion, because and that opens the podcast up for the future. Like, if this thing continues on and goes on way beyond me, even, I might be the one that started it, like Matt Pat. But at some point, I'm not going to be here forever. Nobody lives forever. Or, it brings that expectation. A lot of people get used to people being on podcasts, but it brings up the opportunity. So, let's say one day I'm, traveling, or, say one day I'm out on one of my walks. I trip and I get like severely hurt, like run over by a car, fall off a cliff. Who knows? And I can't make it to a pod. Even though I will try my best, I will fight those paramedics all the way to the ambulance to be on this thing at this point, like today. Um, if that can't happen, I could just be like, okay, Alex, I got hurt, man. If I'm still alive, or breathing, or conscious, or like, we've gotten to a point where it's like they'll pick it up. They'll be like, oh, Jacob's really hurt bad. He really want to get this episode out. Now, if it's a episode where where it's like, oh, there's nothing worth talking about, it's okay to delay it, especially in the worst case scenarios. But like, the opportunity's there. Like, that's worst case scenario. Like, I'm like freaking open heart surgery type shit. But it doesn't give an expectation that I have to be on the podcast 24/7 every Thursday. That's what I'm gonna say. Every Thursday. Um, that would be insanity. These things were 24 hours. Oh, my second wind's running out of me. My Red Bull, man, is starting to wear off. Um, but having that freedom, have Alex take over. Who knows, Roger, if she wants to host it, to her. Anybody can really host it. Anybody can really do it. Really, it's a show designed so easy, even though it's kicked us in the ass several times. Again, if it's not going wrong, then we're not doing it right. um, it's a show that's so basic, so random, so can we talk about anything? Like tonight, we're not able to do the sports corner. Okay, I just make something out of a spot. Like it's random. I think you get the point. Yeah, I'm kind of rambling a little bit. It's random. It's freeing, and it sets up opportunities for us to continue it no matter what. I guess I'm trying to say. Which actually brings up topic I really really want to talk about after the video I dropped today, the Undertale video. Which again, yeah, I hope you guys really go back and watch that because that video kicked my ass. This podcast today kicked my ass. I'll admit it. Yeah, I know a lot. I'm not. I know a lot of people give me shit for it too, but it is what it is. But I'll take it. Um, Resiliency, being resilient. Today, it started out great. It's one of the honestly greatest times I've ever had. One of, not the, but one of the greatest times I've had in a while. I got to make 3 shorts. Got to do give out a random fact. I love giving out random facts. Just like my friend Rajul. I'm a yapper. Like right now, I'm perfectly fine just sitting here talking to a brick wall. Does it suck? Yeah. But can I do it? Yeah. Do I have a problem with it? No. I could just sit here and talk and talk and talk until I'm blue in the face. I really can. But it started out fun, you know. Then came the like I was saying in the earlier part of the podcast, the video. I'll get back to the schedule. Again, it's on me. I've set a very strict schedule for myself, and that's because again, I'd hate to repeat myself, but it's a very efficient schedule. Mondays. No, I'll do it like this. Okay, so my video schedules, which I've said in this, no, not this. I haven't said in this podcast yet. I'm thinking about my Instagram story. I said it in my story, and I think I kind of worded that. I feel like I got to correct myself here. So yes, I am being serious. What I mean by my video schedule is now taking priority. What I mean by that is ever since I've gotten back, gotten into streaming, well, I wouldn't really say back into streaming because I kind of dabbled a little bit in it, back in the day, but not like all like that, but like not as much as my YouTube channel. um, since I got into streaming, um, I've been consistent. I have been consistent. Yeah, I've been consistent with the shorts, and I've been consistent with my streaming schedule. Even though it's been a little bit bumpy, I've been consistent. And it's kind of become a point where I've been so consistent that my video schedule is non-existent. Yay. I can pat myself on the back and be like, oh, great. This is a great time. I'm actually facing one of my biggest adversities, and that's honestly being consistent in general. And now it's like I can't even get this shit out of my head. But then again, no, because I'm still not really consistent. Because, well, I am consistent, but not in a sense that you would think. I'm neglecting the very thing that I started out with, and that is my YouTube channel. That YouTube channel has been it has been my journey to who I am. It's how I started, and it's something, honestly, I hope I'm still debating on this, like thinking about, like way in the future when I go away, leave this earth, go to wherever. Um, that still thinking, like letting my friends pick it up to different way, or just hanging the hat and just letting it just be memories. And but at the end of the day, whichever one happens, my end goal is I hope people have so many videos to watch back and to see this legacy that I've left. And I really hope to leave a big legacy. I really do. I founded Sagamatic Studios back in college, around the same time I was um, doing YouTube and stuff, because Sagamatic Studios originated from my YouTube passion, and that all originates from my willingness and my just passion to want to tell a story, get people immersed in stories, like um, video games, movies, TV shows, and even YouTube videos. Um, whether that story be literal or whether that story just be metaphorical. I at the end of the day, I would call myself not really a content creator, even though I literally I am, but a storyteller, because I like to use things like colors, um, practical things like moving things here and there, little Easter eggs, like everybody likes to do. I like to tell stories in hopefully very, very, very unique ways in the future that get you immersed in ways you've never been immersed. And that is the reason I started Sagamatic Studios, because I want to make my end goal. My end goal is it's a goal. It's a little bit of a goal. My goal is to have a big universe of books, films, movies, games, and then someday be able to tie that all up together, because that's going to be a lot of moving pieces. Psychomatic Studios is a lot of moving pieces. It's a very ambitious set of moving pieces. It's going to take a lot of ambition. Um, my goal is, once all the puzzle pieces fall together, is to have a giant ass fucking theme park. And my goal is everyone who helped me along the way, um, whether that be, the people within the studio that's written their own stories, on books, on series, whatever, their own projects, can have a spot in the park. I want this thing to be so grand. I want my stories, my projects to just come to life in so many ways. I can't even get into it, how many ways I could just even imagine how I could. But get a little bit too into that whole thing. But I guess I'm saying that because resiliency. Back to today. Because you can't have that without this. There was a boss I used to have who'd tell me this, um, and it is very wise words. It really is very wise words. You know, um, if you want to achieve your dream, there's so many ways to word this, but I like the way they worded it. If you want money, you're never gonna have free time. if you want more free time, you're never gonna have money because you're always thinking about money. And in a way, that's really true, because it's like, take away the money part. If you want to achieve your dreams, you want to achieve your goals, you're never going to have free time. If you want the free time and all that stuff, you're never going to achieve your goals. You might get close to it, but you'll never really get there, because if you're giving up, how do I word this? Because I can't think right now. If you want more free time, then you're not really using that time to really achieve your goal, unless you're really lucky and whatever you're trying to achieve is like something really simple, which is actually very rare. Um, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to build a studio, write stories, and the end goal being a park for me, and maybe someday like a virtual reality headset, or a world in a virtual reality headset, like a Quest or something, like a Quest game. That doesn't start overnight. That doesn't just come out of thin air. Um, it starts with a stepping stone, and like today, to get to those points, you have to go through things like I went today. Back to the story. So today, after the shorts and all that, yeah, I'm on top of the world. Then the Undertale video started, because like my whole end goal, because I've been so far off track, like I was saying, if I stuck to my schedule, I would be on track. I would not have had to put so much work into the day, because the way the schedule was designed, yes, it's strict, but it is also very efficient. It basically balances itself out. So if I didn't goof and got a little bit sloppy this week, I would not have had to done all this work today. So now comes the Undertale video that I should have honestly edited yesterday and just had it uploaded today. It was great, the first like hour of it. It was really fun. Yeah, there was no problems the whole editing process really. It was more or less the aftermath, because I was up against a time clock, which I hate that. I hate having a deadline on something. I want to take the time and effort and energy to put something good out there. I was on excuse me. I was on a time crunch, and there for the first, little bit. Yeah, he did this little detail, and then once it started getting like 6 o'clock, 7, way past the time. Well, it was getting really close, because I told everybody, okay, guys, we're gonna be doing this VCV tonight, 9:30 Eastern time, but like 8 o'clock my time. So it's starting to inch closer and closer. So okay. So edit faster, and more efficiently, make some slop work. I mean, I did the minimum, I would say, for myself. I did the minimum when it comes to editing for my abilities. I know I can do better. I know I can do way better. But because of the time crunch I put myself in, because like my coach used to tell me, because I made life harder for myself and got in my own way, that I was facing an uphill battle that I dug myself into. And I got the video out, but as I was getting the video out, it took about 2 hours. I'm getting messages, because they say, and I always learn, it's a sad way to think about things sometimes. Never get your hopes up. Because, I was sitting there, today, this morning, I was like, today is going to be the best freaking podcast I've had in a long time. It's going to be packed. I had Roger coming in, Alex was going to be there, and John May was going to be, those two have always been there, always. So this is like a weird thing for them. But because of the unnatural circumstances, Roger's kid had some messies. So Roger, she had to go take care of that. Like, yeah, I was like, yeah, don't worry. I'm like, you're a mom. At the end of the day, you be a mom first. You could be on a podcast later. So, I didn't really worry about all that. And, then, John May, I think he got a little bit tied up. And it was a little bit late for him, too, because the time started getting later and later and later. So, didn't really matter. So, it got to a point where, videos uploading. I'm in this situation. um, videos uploading, 2 hours remaining, and I was like, okay, Alex, I might need your help. I did a speed test, and that video, because I like to upload 1440p YouTube videos. Back to that, yeah, I'd like to put my best work out there. Even though that video might not be the best editing work I've done, it looks like it is, but I tell you guys, it's really not. It is 1440p. I can tell you that. All 2 hours of upload time, 1440p. I really, 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 um, really, 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 really. I can just keep saying that forever. Really think it started going downhill then, because it's like, okay, I was like, Alex, you might need to help me. I did a speed test, and usually at minimum, the norm, I can get, around like 14 megabytes upload, megabits, either one. Um, Sometimes I can push 16, 17. On a good day, I can get 20. Those are perfect days. Not while uploading a 4K video. That thing, if I were to estimate, I think if I probably had around 14 megabytes, like no video being uploaded at all available. So, uploading that video took a probably 11 megabytes per second out of my 14, bringing it down to like the 3 point something it was showing me. And the ping, man, the ping was a meme. Ping, dude, but when we play no video games, I tell you that. So I mean, the only game that could probably play is like offline games, but usually I don't like to game like that because I like to let my PC do its thing. Let it sit. I've just edited for a little bit. I'm just gonna go scroll some TikTok or whatever. I got nothing going on. So yeah, that's where things started going downhill. Cause I was like, Alex, okay, I can't really stream because, well, I'm gonna get a little bit into like a thing with like upload speed. I mean, it should be common sense, but not really common sense unless you're a streamer. So you have to think of upload speed like I was joking with my friend Alex. It's like a foot long from Subway. You know, when you're streaming, it really probably cuts it in half. But that YouTube video, it being like 12 gigs, that video took that sub, cut it at the heel, and then took the bigger part, not eating it, but holding on to it, leaving you with the small parts to eat. Not really a big lunch there. But then later, after it's done holding on to it, it gives it to you. Now you got your full lunch after however long you had to wait. And that's exactly what that video did to me. It took the big half of the freaking sandwich. And it's like, okay, so now I'm either stuck, which is this is what wound up happening. Stuck waiting 2 hours, then go live with the Voice Chat Vibe podcast really late. But I couldn't do that at the time because Alex was still theoretically available because we were on voice call. We were gearing up. I was like, yo, Alex, I might be recording this and you can stream it on your side because he usually likes to stream it too. And yeah, we might just be doing recording tonight. Yeah, I was like, all over the place on Twitter. And my Discord server too, both places. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna record it because I no matter what, no matter how far you sling me down a mountain, I'm always going to have a pickaxe, grappling hook. I'm always going to have something at my disposal to get me out of that, no matter how far I keep going out. Like my bosses have told me in the past, I'm a very resilient person. You knock me down a million times, but I will always find a way to climb back up. And that is exactly what happened today. Um, you'll find out here in a few seconds. Alex, as we're getting ready to gear up and record, because hold on, I gotta go to the bathroom. Come back. He's not in the call anymore, and he is not in the call anymore because his power went out. Yay! So I'm like, you know what? That should be a bad thing, but then again, it's not really a bad thing because now I can just wait it because now I don't have anybody. I'm not wasting somebody's time. The only person's time I'm wasting now is myself, and I really don't have time. Well, I have time to waste, but not really. So depending on the time of day and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Things happen. I'll just wait out the YouTube video upload, and live stream of doing what I'm doing right now, and just wake up tomorrow and start a new day. Because like I posted on like reels and shorts and all that. I have a sticker I put on my door. It says, "I am stronger than yesterday," and I put it on my door because I look at that thing every time I go out that door. It's true because yeah, podcast really didn't go perfect. It really didn't go as I planned, but I found a way to still make it work. I still, even though the video was ridiculously late, I still got it out. And even though I was really tired and I was fighting sleep after that video, I am making the podcast. And yeah, I might have put myself in that spot. Yeah, maybe I could have relaxed a little bit and just said, okay, either podcast later or do the video tomorrow. But no, I was so dead set because today I knew today, like the second I woke up this morning, I had all these things in my mind. The second I woke up, I knew if I did all these things today, it would make up for everything. It was going to suck, but I had to do it. And I held myself accountable. Tomorrow, it's going to be easy. Make some shorts, take the podcast club up, which isn't really that bad. And then, have all these hours to just relax. Maybe even film a new YouTube video. Maybe not. Especially after today, I might take a little breather. Just a little bit, even though YouTube should be the priority. Stream. Have fun. Tonight counts as my stream. I can't. Not after today. So I guess the moral of that story is, yeah, the day started out great. I thought today was going to be the best freaking day ever. Get my YouTube video out on time. Never happens. It's going to be a jam-packed podcast. Never happened. But even though I kept falling and falling and falling, I still found a way. I got the video out, held myself accountable, made myself get on the stream, even though I shouldn't really have to. I shouldn't. I did it because I'm holding myself to a standard that I want to achieve. It's back to that conversation. It's like I want to achieve greatness, so I need to hold myself to that standard. I need to put the time in to get to that standard. Somebody said on Twitter one time, I think it was like TikTok, Um, to be an athlete, you got to put the work in. I mean, you try out for baseball, football, basketball, whatever, and you haven't put the work in, you're there's a good chance you're going to get cut. Or, if you make it and you decide to get lazy, there's a good chance you're going to get traded. There's a good chance you'll get released. So many different things, especially in the professional sports world. There are people that will cuss you out over championship rings. So there's people that will fight you over championship rings. It's that, it's the cost of greatness. It's the sad cost of greatness. If you want to be great, you've got to put the work in. You've got to do things you're not willing to do. You've got to step outside of a box that you will never even know what's outside of it. And I live that day by day. Because it's like, if you're not doing that, like I'm not perfect, but I want to be perfect. When I used to be in bands, we would always strive for greatness. We got superiors every year. Our marching band won awards. I won have won awards, and we went to Festival Disney, played with colleges, won first place. I have a pin from Festival Disney that I will cherish the rest of my life, because I reached a level of greatness. And that's actually something I look back to. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to stuff like this, there's no such thing as perfection. There never will be such thing as perfection. But to achieve, because perfection is a line that just keeps on moving up and up and up and up. It's whether or not you want to follow that line and how close you want to be to that line. It really matters at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, I had some challenges, faced adversities, but at the end of the day, I did what it took to get myself back out of that hole that I created. Now, tomorrow, like I said, don't really, now that the schedule is technically back in its flow, now tomorrow, all I have to do, like I said, take this, download the VOD. Well, actually, I don't even have to download the VOD. I just got it recording. So take it, clip it up, put it on YouTube, put it on Spotify. Probably take a little bit of a breather. I got some like side things. Got to help out with some friends and all that, like little graphics design projects and like emotes I'm going to be helping Raw with, and there's like she sent one of her friends help like with a profile picture. Say I got tomorrow might be a little bit of a graphics day, but it's just like chill work for me. And then have some like leisure time, just a little bit. And then I can finally just, after maybe take a nap. I don't know. And maybe take a walk. I or both or all three. I don't know. and then I can come back, and then I can have a relaxing stream. Finish out the weekend strong, and then the schedule is just right back in flow, because I made the decision to get my ass kicked today. Things can go back to being the way they used to be, or well, way I've always wanted them to be, really. So I guess you can say yes. Today really sucked at the end of the day, but that's the sacrifice I made. It's the sacrifice I made to get things back on track. So now, when I'm ending my stream on Sunday, or maybe even not doing a stream on Sunday, making a video